So, hey everybody, here we are, finally talking about Blaxit and what it is and why we chose to do it. I will attach a definition for the term Blaxit, so I'll take a second to read that. Now that you know what it means, for us, it was leaving the U.S. wasn't an easy decision. And when I say it wasn't easy, I mean it wasn't easy in terms of getting everything we needed to move, deciding that, we didn't need a new boat or a new car. We want to sell the stuff we had, sell our home, tell our kids we were leaving, tell my parents we were leaving, my friends, co-workers and everything. In that sense, yeah, it was pretty difficult to leave the U.S. But in other terms, it wasn't. There's a lot of things going on in the U.S. that, without getting too political, it's just it wasn't the place that we wanted to remain. The Blaxit, I don't know if you want to call it a revolution, been going on recently, where African Americans and maybe European and in Europe have been finding other countries to live in other than the country they were born in or raised in. We're all well aware of many of the issues that go on in the U.S. There's numerous things to talk about that I may agree or disagree with, and I'm not here to start an argument with anyone. This is just our personal journey as an American citizen, as a veteran. I shouldn't be worried about interaction with the police. And keep in mind, my job was in juvenile corrections. I dealt with police and deputies all the time. But those are the ones that I knew. There's always that fear in the back of my mind about dealing with police officers. If I'm in another state, if we're traveling, if we're doing anything, I have that same fear for my kids. I know about the interactions that the juveniles I worked with had with some of the police. Most of the time it was pretty decent, but there were times where the police took advantage of who they were. There's other things going on in the U.S. that I just don't agree with. Making it harder for people to vote. That just doesn't make any sense to me at all. But meanwhile, there's an infant shortage. There's so many things that need to change in the U.S. And we just felt like, we're at the midpoint of our lives and we just wanted something different. We wanted to do something different. We wanted to be somewhere different. Not to say that Ecuador doesn't have its own issues. It definitely does. The issues that were in many ways very relevant to African Americans, I don't have those same issues here. There are issues that affect all Americans, whether it be, if you have a problem with, the abortion debate or, whatever's going on. The problem we have is that it doesn't seem to be enough dialogue going on between people who maybe don't agree. There's an old saying, agree to disagree. You can get along with people that you don't necessarily agree with on certain topics. But in the United States, it's gotten to the point where if you don't agree with someone, they just don't like you. If you don't agree with them about one thing, you must be one of them and we don't deal with you, or vice versa. And that's just the wrong way to look at it. Everyone has differences. There's no reason why we can't have differences of opinion and actually talk about them. But that's just not happening in the U.S. So people don't want to listen to the stories that people have because they may have already developed an opinion about them. And that's just something we just can't get down with. That's one of the reasons we decided to leave. We don't really tell a lot of people this, but we decided it was time. And for people African Americans in particular, who are, maybe looking for something different, I would encourage you, look abroad. This was our answer. It may not be your answer, but certainly give it a shot. Do some research. Find places you want to go. Initially, I looked into Africa. Without going into too much detail, it was just going to be prohibitively expensive for us to relocate to Africa. And neither one of us likes taking really long flights. And pretty much anywhere we wanted to go in Africa was going to be really long flights, especially if we wanted to come back to the U.S. We want to come back, at least yearly to visit our family. And it just would have been really expensive to do that. But visiting Africa is something I'm definitely planning on doing in the near future. But Central and South America just worked out better for us for our needs and for our particular situation. It's really good to see that there's a growing community of Black expats. It's one of those things where, here in South America, we kind of stand out, but it's never really an issue. And I don't mind that. I don't mind that I stand out. I don't get treated badly because of it. Of course, if you run across another African American, you can kind of spot each other because there's not that many of us around. So that's always kind of cool. For me, this was the right choice. And for my wife, this was the right choice. If it doesn't, work out perfectly, we can try another place. But going back to the U.S. will be the last resort. So far, we love it here in Ecuador. We encourage people to, look abroad. Like I said, Ecuador may not be your solution, it was just ours. But try, there's plenty, this is a big world. And we should really take the time to explore, learn other cultures. Don't try to take your culture to other countries because that's not what they're there for. I didn't come to Ecuador to bring the U.S. here with me. I came to adapt to their culture, period. Cultural differences that are prevalent here don't really bother us that much. It was a culture shock maybe the first couple weeks, but after that, we just want to be as Ecuadorian as anyone else. Got to speak Spanish, but that's what we chose to do. As far as the term Blaxit, it was a term I personally discovered fairly recently. It was while I was doing research for making our move here to Ecuador. There definitely is a growing community and maybe a sentiment in the U.S. amongst African Americans to maybe try other places. There are still many parts of the U.S. that are just not advantageous to be African American. And, the system's kind of built that way. And, we see it. And only get one lifetime, only get one life to live. And I don't want to live in a place that's literally designed for me to have disadvantages. Do I speak for every African American? Absolutely not. I can't really say that, my life was hindered by these disadvantages. I don't know. But I know plenty of people that had their lives hindered in some way because of a corrupt system. That's my take on the Blaxit and my reason for leaving the U.S. And up next, LaShawn's going to explain hers. Thanks.
Just left the dentist, as Steve said, dentista, getting our teeth cleaned in La Libertad.
Yep. We both got a cleaning and polish and all that other good stuff for a grand total of $60.
Yeah.
Pretty good deal. So there you have it. A little dental work done in Ecuador.
Here are my thoughts of why I decided to leave the U.S. Previously, Steve and I took a trip to Dubai back in, I think it was 2016, and arriving in Dubai during our vacation, I realized how peaceful I felt. I realized how everything that was happening was more on a it wasn't so stringent. There wasn't a lot of police activity. There wasn't a lot of ambulances that I was hearing on a day-to-day basis. It was just very quiet, peaceful, and I felt a sense of peace of being there. And when we came back from our vacation, I felt depressed immediately. It was what people say I had reverse culture shock. I just immediately felt depressed. I didn't want to be in the US anymore. I just didn't want to be there. I just felt like a country that talks so bad about Black Americans and what we don't bring to the table, or talking about how lazy we are, talking about how we don't matter, and are seen still as property. I'm a human being, and I should be treated like a human being. I feel like my fellow brothers and sisters should be treated as the same. And so I talked about that for years. Like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to live here anymore. I wish I could just go somewhere else and live abroad, because I feel I would be treated differently and accepted more. And so Steve decided last year to bring the idea of moving to Panama. And so we looked and did our research for Panama, and we decided, okay, maybe that's an idea. And because I knew someone who lived in Ecuador, I personally reached out to her and asked her, can you tell me more about Ecuador? I know that's your home country. You visit there every year. Can you tell me, is that somewhere I would probably want to stay? So she suggested that we take a trip, and so we did, and we came to Ecuador. Immediately, I felt a sense of peace. I felt a sense of belonging. And so we're here. I still feel a sense of belonging. I still feel comfortable. I don't feel the fear of being here like I did in the US. We walk more. I don't necessarily feel like I'm going to be shot in the streets. I mean, anything can happen. You know that, I know that. But to feel a little safe than not feeling safe at all means a lot. And people ask me a lot of times, what made you want to move to Ecuador? Not wanting to be in the US. That's one of the reasons. My family is in the US. I truly miss them. I wish I could just pack them up and move them here, and so they can have a experience what I am experiencing, to feel a sense of safety, a sense of peace. Because looking at the news, even from here, gives me anxiety. My anxiety has decreased. The stress that I was dealing with has decreased. Just knowing what I felt living in the US compared to where I am now is a huge difference. And for those who are feeling the level of stress, the anxiety, travel abroad and see what your sense of feelings are once you get there. Do you feel a sense of peace? And I'm not just saying vacation wise, like we all enjoy going on vacation and like, do you feel a sense of peace? Do you feel connected to that country? Do you feel like you can live in that country? Is it affordable? Do your research. See how you can live abroad and see if you're accepted. Not asking you to go somewhere and people are still treating you the same way you're being treated in the US. If you're not being treated that way and people accept you and are welcoming and speak to you and not just look at you up and down, giving you this look like, oh, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Oh my God, here they are. Just think about it. If it's attainable, give it some thought. Give it some thought. And if you can't do it in the next 2 years, maybe it's a 5-year or maybe it's a 10-year goal. Make it a goal. And if you can't, that's understandable. It took us to be in our late 40s, but we had an opportunity, so we took it. And honestly, hopefully we don't have to look back. We can always go back to visit family, and that would be the only reason to go back and visit family. But other than that, no, I don't miss none of it. The stress, the anxiety, the feeling of fear, not being happy. And when I say not being happy, is not being happy with the things that are going around me, the current events that happen on a daily basis that involves black people dying. No. Don't miss it. Yes, crime, people dying happens all over the world. But at the rate of people dying in the US, it's off the chain. So that is my reason why I moved and why I'm here in Ecuador, to not be stressed, not have the anxiety, being able to sleep. While I was from 2014, insomnia got worse every year. With insomnia comes you feel stress. Stress is associated with insomnia. Anxiety is involved with stress and depression and anxiety. So all those things coupled together would technically drive someone insane. Cause them not to think clearly. Can cause them to do physical harm to themselves. So to be able to have an outlet and go to a country where I can just sit and breathe, sit and not worry, not stress, not think about my job on a day-to-day basis, what's going on with my job, what's happening with my job, what they're doing and why they're doing this, and this is not fair, and I can't understand, and these people, none of that. I don't want any of that. I don't have any of that. And I feel amazing. I feel good. I'm happy. I'm happy with our choices that we made. I'm happy. So, like I said, if you get an opportunity to leave or to visit abroad, please do it. Do your research. See if it's attainable. Do your exit. And Steve called it Blaxit, or the term Blaxit. Do it.